Since his 1960s debut, Spider-Man has been loved. He's appeared in many comics, TV shows, movies, and video games. This video will chronologically review the Spider-Man game franchise. From the early days of 2D platformers to modern open-world titles, Spider-Man games have come a long way. So sit back, relax, and swing through Spider-Man game history. Spider-Man. Spider-Man's first video game was a vertically scrolling action game for Atari and Magnavox. The player had to climb a building and dodge hazards in this simple side-scrolling game. The game's objective is to climb a building while blasting webs, defusing bombs, and evading opponents. You had to escape the Green Goblin long enough to defuse a super bomb at the summit. Quest Probe, Spider-Man. This game was released for the Commodore 64 and was part of a series of text-based adventure games. The player had to type in commands to progress through the game. Quest Probe was supposed to be a 12-part series, but Adventure International went bankrupt after releasing the trilogy. Spider-Man and Captain America in Dr. Doom's Revenge. A 1989 side-scrolling action game for the Amiga, Atari, and Commodore 64 featured the web crawler. In it, the player switched between Spider-Man and Captain America to fight enemies from both characters' rogues gallery. Dr. Doom's Revenge was complimented for its vibrant colors, but criticized for its repetitive combat. The game's villain, Rattan, is a martial arts master. The Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man fans got another side-scrolling platformer in 1990 as he tried to save Mary Jane. Mysterio kidnapped her, and Spider-Man must find him in a succession of movie-themed levels inspired by his love of film. The Amazing Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin. Spidey saved Mary Jane from Venom in The Amazing Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin, another side-scrolling action game. However, Kingpin frames the hero for stealing a nuclear bomb, so he must clear his identity. In addition to saving his wife, he must find keys to deactivate the bomb within 24 hours. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Spidey is again framed for bank robbery in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, a direct sequel to the 1990 Game Boy game. The game's control design, difficulty spikes, and absence of in-game saves were widely criticized. Spider-Man, Return of the Sinister Six. Spider-Man, Return of the Sinister. Six debuted on the NES in 1992. Again, players cleared levels and faced bosses. It was launched late in the NES's existence, hence it wasn't well received. Spider-Man and the X-Men in Arcade's Revenge. The player initially controls Spider-Man as he defuses bombs throughout the metropolis. However, he shortly learns that the supervillain Arcade has kidnapped the X-Men. The player can then assume control of each of the 4 X-Men: Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Gambit as they attempt to flee. The Amazing Spider-Man, Lethal Foes. Lethal Foes was the first Spider-Man game to incorporate swinging mechanics controlled by the player. It was released exclusively in Japan. It was unquestionably a step in the correct direction, despite being a far cry from what we have today. Spider-Man and Venom, Maximum Carnage. Released on September 16, 1994. Maximum Carnage closely tracks the then-current Carnage comic book storyline. Even some of the game's cutscenes are digital transfers of genuine comic book pages. Spider-Man, the animated series. Spider-Man, released in 1995, was based on the iconic animated Spider-Man series and featured an art style inspired by the cartoon. 6 unique side-scrolling levels and over 20 monster battles were included in the game. Venom/Spider-Man, Separation Anxiety. Separation Anxiety followed the Venom storyline in the Spider-Man comics and was a direct sequel to 1994's Maximum Carnage. The game was a side-scrolling beat-em-up where Spider-Man or Venom may fight Carnage again. Spider-Man, Web of Fire. Web of Fire is unique in that it is the only Spider-Man game to be released on Sega's 32X system and the final game to be released for the system in North America. It is yet another side-scrolling action platformer with 6 distinct levels and boss battles. Spider-Man 2000. Considered a classic, this game perfectly depicts Spider-Man's web-slinging and combat abilities. It features a compelling narrative and a vast assortment of enemies to vanquish. This game was published for multiple platforms, such as PlayStation, N64, and Dreamcast. Spider-Man 2. The Sinister Six. Spider-Man returns to defeat the Sinister Six in The Sinister Six, a direct sequel to 2000's Spider-Man on Game Boy Color. Before saving Aunt May from Dr. Octopus, players defeat 6 bosses in 6 levels. Spider-Man 2. Enter Electro. Enter Electro. The sequel to the first game continues the web-slinging action with enhanced graphics and gameplay. It presents new challenges and introduces new adversaries to Spider-Man's gallery of foes. Spider-Man, Mysterio's Menace. Spider-Man made his Game Boy Advance debut in Mysterio's Menace, an extra-leveled side-scrolling beat-em-up compared to previous titles. The user navigates 2D levels that culminate in boss battles, which is relatively standard for handheld Spider-Man games. Spider-Man, the movie. This game closely follows the plot of the first Spider-Man film, which it was released simultaneously. It offers engaging gameplay, allowing players to fly through New York City and battle iconic foes like the Green Goblin. Spider-Man 2. Based on the blockbuster film of the same name, this game is widely regarded as one of the greatest Spider-Man games ever created. It added a larger New York City environment and a physics-based web-swinging system, enhancing the open-world gameplay. Ultimate Spider-Man. This game features an original art style and storyline based on the Ultimate Spider-Man comic book series. It focuses on fast-paced action and exploration, allowing players to control both Spider-Man and Venom. Spider-Man: Battle for New York. Battle for New York, which stars the Green Goblin, also uses the Ultimate Comics style. The user controls Spider-Man or Green Goblin through side-scrolling levels. Touchscreen controls were available in the DS edition. Spider-Man 3. This game enhances the open-world concept with enhanced graphics and combat mechanics to coincide with the release of the third Spider-Man movie. However, it was met with mixed evaluations due to repetitive missions and technical issues. Spider-Man: Friend or Foe. Friend or Foe altered the Spider-Man universe. Spider-Man overcame several of the game's enemies, making them allies. The game also combined Ultimate Comics' stylized aesthetic with Spider-Man's beat-em-up action. Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. The storyline of Web of Shadows is dark and edgy, and players' decisions influence the outcome of the game. It introduces a symbiote-infested New York City and allows players to alternate between Spider-Man's red and black suits. Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions. In this game, players assume control of various Spider-Man incarnations from distinct dimensions, each with its own gameplay mechanics. It provides a varied and visually spectacular experience with an intriguing plot involving multiple antagonists. Spider-Man: Edge of Time. Edge of Tomorrow offers an original story about two incarnations of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099, who work together to repair a temporal rift. It included a novel cause-and-effect gaming system that allowed one Spider-Man to influence the universe of another by interacting with the environment. The Amazing Spider-Man. Based on the same-named film adaptation, this game featured an open-world version of New York City and enhanced the web-swinging mechanics. However, it was criticized for resembling previous Spider-Man games too closely. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was inspired by the same film that inspired Amazing Spider-Man in 2012. Peter Parker, now 2 years into his web-crawling career, resumes his quest for Uncle Ben's murderer across a vast open-world 3D environment. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man is a great modern take on the Spider-Man mythos that honors the comics, video games, and films. The game features a more seasoned Peter Parker balancing his personal life and web-slinging enthusiasm in an open-world setting. This critically acclaimed game is widely regarded as one of the best superhero games ever made. Marvel's Spider-Man: Miles Morales. This game is a standalone addition to Marvel's Spider-Man, putting players in the shoes of Miles Morales as he transforms into Spider-Man. It includes a shorter but more intriguing storyline, improved combat abilities, and a new winter setting. Fans appreciated the game's continued high-quality gameplay and its concentration on Miles Morales. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This game is the sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man, and it sees Peter Parker and Miles Morales team up to face off against the Venom symbiote and the Green Goblin. Spider-Man and Miles Morales will have a variety of new combat abilities, including Venom attacks and Miles' bioelectric powers. And that's it for this video on the order to play the Spider-Man games. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. If you want to support this channel, you can do it on Patreon. Thanks for watching.